So I recently just made a video talking about how the idea that Kira's first victim being Light makes no sense and completely misconstrues Light's character. And I got a lot of pushback on it. So I'm going to take some of the arguments I got and talk about them. So first is the argument that Light was not always a bad person. It was just until he got the Death Note. And this is a poor argument because this kind of implies that the Death Note corrupts the user. And that's not the case. The Death Note, nowhere in the rules does it say it corrupts the user. All it says, it grants the user great misfortune, but the Death Note does not corrupt the user. Light is the exact same person he was whenever he got the Death Note. And the idea that since Light didn't do anything until he got the Death Note and that's whenever he started doing evil stuff is a very dangerous way to think. Because that's the exact kind of logic that courts use in order to dismiss rapists and murderers, because if they didn't do anything bad before, then they still have a bright future ahead. It was just one little bad thing that they did. That's the exact same mindset that those people have. It took Light only a couple of hours until he declared himself to be the god of the new world and that he was going to cleanse the world. Next is one of the worst arguments that I saw for Light, and that's that he was just depressed. Now, Light may have been depressed. I'm not going to argue that. He was very bored. He was very apathetic. He shows a lot of signs of an antisocial personality disorder. He could very well be depressed. But that does not mean he wasn't a bad person. Light still killed thousands of people and tried to commit a genocide. Him being depressed doesn't excuse him from that. Then people use this manga panel, which they miss the point of this panel, because it's to show that Light, in the end, would still use the Death Note to kill people. The only thing is, he doesn't have the means to, so he thinks he wouldn't do it whenever he has his memories erased. But he would. He's thinking here right now that he would. He tries to brush it off, being all like, oh no, I wouldn't do that, I'm talking crazy. But he would. That's the whole point of this panel, that he's entertaining the idea. But he thinks he wouldn't do it because, well, he's catching Kira, and also, right now, he doesn't have the means to do it, so he thinks he wouldn't do it, so he thinks he has the moral high ground. But this panel sets him apart from L, because L not once ever has thoughts like this. He never ever entertains the idea of using the Death Note. He thinks it's abhorrent. Meanwhile, Light, even with his memories erased, entertains the idea of using it. He thinks he wouldn't, but that's because he doesn't have the means. The Death Note is the outlet that makes him show his true colors. But since he doesn't have that outlet, he thinks he wouldn't do it. But this right here, this panel is him showing his true colors. Then people say, well, if he was given the opportunity without the Death Note, he would have become like a detective or something. Okay, that just further proves my point, that if Light, he doesn't become evil until he gets the Death Note, and that's because he's given the opportunity to carry out his ideals. But in another world, if he wasn't given an opportunity, then yeah, he might have turned out okay. But because he was given that opportunity, it made him show his true colors. Because that's what the power did to him. It got to his head, it made him prideful, and it made him show who he truly was. I just think it's very telling that people will defend a genocider and an abusive man because he had the potential to have a bright future, but he was just given a lot of power, so he let it get to his head, and that's somehow an excuse for him. It says a lot about you and the kind of stuff you're willing to defend. I'm just gonna say that. Because Light is not a good person. He's not. That's the whole point of the show, that he's not. Oh my gosh, you guys are willing to defend a genocider just because he had the potential for a bright future. What? Oh my gosh, you guys are crazy. That's like saying, if a man assaults a woman, but he's never assaulted a woman before. It just happened, they were at night, she was dressed immodestly, and since he was given that opportunity, he just suddenly felt the urge to. Okay, that's not an excuse. You've never done it before. You felt the sudden urge because you were given the opportunity to, but if you were never there, if she was never there, you never would have done it. It's that's not an excuse. You still did it. Anyways, yeah, Light is a good character. Light is a villain, and Light is a bad person. Thank you.